Well, hello, friends. Welcome to Intentional Living with Emlah. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your week and you're ready to learn some stuff with me today. Today, I want to talk about vitamin D. And vitamin D is not just a vitamin, it is a hormone-like regulator. And you have been wondering what vitamin D does for your body and why everybody's talking about vitamin D. This episode is for you. You want to know how to take vitamin D. If you've been thinking about your levels or if you do not know your levels, stay with me. Because by the end of this episode, you will have all the scoop on vitamin D. So like I said, vitamin D is not just a vitamin. It is a hormone regulator, which actually is responsible for immunity, for calcium absorption, for your mood, for cardiometabolic health, for muscle strength. So, and the recommended range for vitamin D levels in the US typically is 30 to 100. So somewhere between 25 to 100. Just think about that range for a moment. So they want our vitamin D levels to be anywhere between 30 and 100. And also, I want you to know that working in the pharmacy as a pharmacist, for the past 13 years, every time somebody has a cardiovascular event, when they get discharged from the hospital after the surgical procedures with all their medications, warfarin, Eliquis, Plavix, all the things, they also almost always come with a vitamin D 50,000 units to take once a week. I want you to pause for a moment and wonder why that is the case. Why we wait until somebody has a cardiovascular event, then we prescribe vitamin D 50,000 units IU to take once a week. Why did we not just give 5,000 to take daily to prevent a cardiovascular event? So let's back up. One of the most important uses, let's look at the uses of vitamin D. One of the most important uses of vitamin D is to ensure that calcium goes to where it should be going. So it helps your body absorb calcium. So imagine that vitamin D and calcium are BFFs. So you're eating your food that has calcium, but the calcium goes into your body. And in order for your body to absorb it well, your vitamin D levels have to be high. So if you don't have optimal levels of vitamin D, your body cannot absorb calcium and send calcium to the right places. But the main reason why I really want you to pay attention during this podcast is to find out if you are taking your vitamin D wrong. There are 3 things I want you to take into consideration when you are taking vitamin D. Vitamin D has a BFF that has to go with it, K2. I would never take vitamin D without K2 unless for a specific population, people who are on warfarin, people who are on certain medications which interact with vitamin K2 should not be taking vitamin D3 with K2. And I'll explain to you why you should take vitamin D3 with K2. And the second thing is that when you take vitamin D, if your magnesium levels are low, your body's not going to be able to absorb that vitamin D. So you need the cofactors or like magnesium to be able to absorb enough vitamin D in your body. And the other thing is that vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. With vitamin D being fat-soluble, you have to take it with a fatty meal. So think of something like avocados in the morning or something when you're taking your vitamin D. And vitamin D could be stimulating for some people. So I recommend taking it earlier in the day rather than later in the day. And not for everybody, but I take my vitamin D in the morning. So let's talk about the vitamin D levels again. Vitamin D levels are required to be somewhere between 25 to 100. So just think about it. That's a very big range. So this means that if you're 26 or if you're 31, you are coded as within range. Your lab will appear in my chart as in the green. You're in the green zone, so you're fine. But 31 as your vitamin D level is not going to protect you from osteoporosis. 31 as your vitamin D level will not protect you from a cardiovascular event. So these are in addition to all the other things that we do to protect us from osteoporosis and cardiovascular events. So let's talk about osteoporosis for a moment. So vitamin D, when you take vitamin D helps to direct calcium, to absorb calcium in the body. So if your calcium is in your body, without taking, you cannot really buy any if you say, oh, I'm taking calcium and the calcium has vitamin D, go and look at your calcium bottle. Turn on the back and see how much vitamin D is in it. You're probably having about 400 IU or 1000 IU of vitamin D in your calcium. That's not enough. You want to know your vitamin D levels. If you listen to this podcast and the only thing you get from this podcast is knowing your vitamin D levels, I would have done my job. And the answer that, oh, it's within range is not good enough. If you're listening to this podcast, I want you to stop right now, pause this podcast, and then check your vitamin D levels. Go to my chart and see if you have checked your vitamin D levels. And if you have not checked your vitamin D levels, I have a link in the show notes with a link to Journeys, and which is our nutrient testing platform, which would test not only your vitamin D levels, but your nutrients, magnesium, all other nutrients, ferritin, B12, inflammation levels, and then you're able to know these numbers. You cannot be guessing. You cannot correct something that you do not know. So in order to be my friend, this is always my line. In order to be my friend, your vitamin D levels has to be 70 and above. So 70 and above, not within range. You have to know your vitamin D number. So when I say, what is your vitamin D number level? Your answer to me is not, it's within range. Your answer to me should be, my vitamin D is 72. My vitamin D is 76. My vitamin D is 80. That's the answer I want. I do not want is within range, and I do not want anything less than 70. And that's just my personal requirement for friendship, which still falls within the required range. But we don't want vitamin D levels up to 100. Anything above 100 is toxic. So we don't want toxic vitamin D levels. But I've been practicing pharmacy for about 13 years today, and I have not met somebody who has toxic vitamin D levels. It is really difficult to get above 100 because our body uses vitamin D every day for several different functions. Like I said, mood, cardiometabolic health, strengthening of muscles, immunity, and gut lining and everything. And vitamin D is really important for those things. This podcast is sponsored by Journeys, your path to intentional wellness. Most health problems don't start overnight, and neither does wellness. With Journeys, you can take charge of your health before you have to. Every cell in your body is speaking to you. But when we ignore preventive medicine, we wait until those cells are screaming. Journeys helps you listen to the whispers. There are 3 different journeys to choose from, each designed to meet you where you are in your wellness path. The Core Wellness Journey for $199 offers a foundational look at your overall health, perfect for getting started and measuring 66 biomarkers. The Advanced Heart and Metabolic Health Journey for $339 measures 111 biomarkers and goes deeper into cardiovascular, metabolic, and thyroid health for a more detailed picture. The Comprehensive Longevity and Hormone Journey costs $469 and is the most complete view, including hormone, nutrient markers that support energy, balance, and healthy aging. This measures 120 biomarkers. Each journey includes a personalized recommendation, one-on-one care from your pharmacist, and follow-up support to help you turn results into lasting intentional change. You just won't get data. You'll get guidance, accountability, and a partner in your wellness journey. Intentional living means paying attention, staying curious, and taking steps towards the health you deserve. Start your journeys today. Click the link in the show notes. Let's step back and talk about osteoporosis and vitamin D. So I want you to consider calcium coming into your body through your food, or if you're taking a calcium supplement. Think of vitamin D as attaching itself with that calcium and helping your body absorb calcium better. But if you're taking just plain vitamin D, that calcium can go to one of 2 places. Consider like an inverted Y. Assume that your calcium is coming in to your body and can go to one of 2 places. Your calcium can go to the left, where is a strong tissue. That's the bones and the teeth. That's where we want your calcium to go to. Or your calcium can be going to the left, where we don't want your calcium going to. The calcium going to the soft tissue is where we don't want calcium. Calcium in the soft tissue like the arteries or the kidneys is where we don't want calcium. Calcium depositing in your kidneys causes kidney stones, and we don't want that. Nobody has time for kidney stones. Calcium depositing in your arteries causes calcification of arteries. It makes your arteries harder. In addition to cholesterol, plaque, and things like that, it reduces the size of your lumen, so the blood doesn't have enough space to flow. You have higher chances of a blood clot. You have higher chances of calcification of arteries. Measure your calcium score. Your doctor can do that for you. And that is, we don't want that because that increases the risk for cardiovascular events. But this is a problem that we can solve. That's why whenever I see somebody taking just plain vitamin D3, I freak out. I cringe a little bit. I go, You don't want to take just vitamin D3 by itself. You want to take vitamin D3 with K2, unless you're on warfarin. And that's when you come see the pharmacist. Come see your integrative pharmacist. Come to Power Pharmacy. Call us on the phone. Send us an email. And we'll be able to guide you as to what vitamin D you should take based on your personal health data. So that is why Emlah Naturals Vitamin D. We also have a plain vitamin D with no K2 for people that are on warfarin. But the average person, like myself, should be taking vitamin D3 with K2. And the Emlah Naturals Vitamin D3 with K2 has 5,000 units of vitamin D3 and 45 micrograms of K2. Why K2? Why do you need K2 with your vitamin D3? Because K2 blocks the pathway for vitamin D to send calcium to the soft tissue. Because we do not want calcium in the soft tissue. Again, the soft tissue is the arteries and your kidneys. We want calcium to be going only to the soft, strong tissue, to the bones, to enhance the bones, to enhance the bone metrics, so that way we prevent osteoporosis. Because did you know that 1 in 2 women will have a broken bone from osteoporosis after the age 50? So we need to be serious and proactive about strengthening our bone metrics. So I talk about K2 in addition to vitamin D3 because there are 2 factors which really enhance calcium going to the bone. And these 2 factors are osteocalcin. Osteocalcin puts the calcium in the bones. And then the MGP prevents the calcium from calcifying your arteries. And these 2 enzymes, these 2 factors in the body are K2 dependent. So if you have high levels of K2, we have enough osteocalcin to put calcium in our bones. And we also have enough MGP to prevent calcium from depositing in the arteries. And these are dependent on K2. And the K2 is MENA-QK. This is the better and more available form of vitamin K2. So we do not want to take K1. It has to be K2. So vitamin D3 with K2. And there are other medications that deplete your K2 in your body, like antibiotics, cholesterol lowering medications. So it's very important because people with higher levels of vitamin D tend to have better immune system. So if your vitamin D is like 26, I was talking with a girlfriend the other day and she goes, Emlah, I couldn't come because I was not well. I've just been falling ill constantly. I go, what is your vitamin D level? She checked and her vitamin D level was 26. And with the range that her doctor was using, the range was 25 to 100. So she was within range. But every other week she's ill. Every other month she's ill. I said, we need to get your vitamin D levels up to 70. That way you feel better about yourself. Improve mood. That way, it reduces viral replication. If you inhale the flu virus or COVID or pneumonia with higher levels of vitamin D, your immune system is better placed to fight these viruses and these bacteria. Vitamin D also helps to strengthen muscle. So if you are working out, you need higher levels of vitamin D. People who live in places like above the 37 parallel, like in Ohio, where I am, even if you get outside and walk naked all day, you're not going to get enough vitamin D like somebody who is in Florida or in the Caribbean islands. So if you live above the 37 parallel, do yourself a favor. Vitamin D from your food is not going to give you the adequate levels and optimal levels. We just don't want to be in range. We want to supplement. This is one of the vitamins that we absolutely need to supplement because it's also fat soluble. And just from food, you rarely can get the right amount of vitamin D to keep your levels at least at a 70, especially if you live above the 37th parallel. Places like Ohio, all the Buckeye people, I'm looking at you. And in order to be my friend, your vitamin D levels have to be at least 70. So I'll put a link in the show notes to vitamin D3K2, Emlah Naturals. I'll also put a link to the plain vitamin D so that those people who are on warfarin can take. And give me a call at the pharmacy. Send me an email. I have my email down there to discuss about your vitamin D levels. Some people are taking vitamin D and they just cannot get their levels to where it should be. And that's why I'm here for you. And this is what I can help you with. So if you have any questions about vitamin D, send me an email and I'd love to talk more about vitamin D in the future. And this podcast because I decided to just talk about the importance of vitamin D to us and to our health overall. My vitamin D levels, my goal is for them never to fall below 70. And my goal is for you to stay my friend. And in order to be my friend, your vitamin D levels have to be 70 and above. So continue to take your vitamin D, be kind to your body, put vitamin D rich foods on your plate, and make sure that your vitamin D is taken with D3 and K2, and make sure you're taking some magnesium as well in order to activate your active form of vitamin D3. Be kind to your body and keep living with intention. Share this podcast to all your friends living above the 37 parallel, or to anybody or any woman you know who needs to be taking vitamin D to prevent osteoporosis. We don't want to wait until we're 65 and we're diagnosed with osteopenia or osteoporosis, and then we start taking vitamin D and calcium at that time. A little too late. We want to start now. We have all this information. Action is what makes the difference. Be kind to your body and continue to live with intention.